Are you looking to submerge yourself into a world in which you can explore anywhere with little to no set time? If the answer is yes, I got you covered. I've comprised the top 20 open world games to play on the Steam Deck in 2025. Let's check it out. So number 20 is Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive is an open world futuristic game set in the year 2027. In this game, you get to freely explore this fictional city called, you know it, Sunset City. And where as you go around in parkour style, you can wall run, you can grind rails, you can zip line, air dash, and many more. And while you're doing that, what's really cool is you also get to fight those different enemies called mutants, which are basically humans that were transformed after taking an energy drink made by Fizco. And so that is something that is just really fun, really chaotic, and where there are also plenty of weapons that you get to use using a weapon wheel, where there are just various weapons that you can customize and whatnot to better take down those different mutants. And what I really love about Sunset Overdrive also is there are plenty of things to do in the game, whether it is going about the story campaign as well as, different side quests, which brings about the value of this really engaging, really chaotic open world game. On top of the main quests and side quests, I also love how there are also a whole bunch of side activities to do in Sunset Overdrive, such as the challenges. They are just so amazing, in which they work like a test to test your skills on how well you can manage and play in the game to survive in this open world game full of mutants. Even though Sunset Overdrive is listed as unsupported, with easy tinkering steps pretty much found on ProtonDB, the game will run perfectly fine. So yeah, if you really love open world games where there are chaotic enemies to fight and where you are on your feet at all times while exploring a fictional city, definitely check out Sunset Overdrive on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Days Gone. Days Gone is an open world game taking place in the Pacific Northwest 2 years after the global pandemic, which is really ironic because Days Gone originally released in April 2019, which is not too long before, COVID. But anyways, Days Gone, there are plenty of terrains such as the forest, such as the meadows, such as snowscapes, deserts, and many more that you get to venture in, as well as there are various enemies to face, such as freakers, in which you must deal with them using various traps, various weapons, doing all it takes in order to survive. There are also many side missions to do, such as clearing infestation nests, engaging in encampment jobs, as well as clearing ambush camps. In this game, you get to play as Deacon St. John, who is a past outlaw and now a bounty hunter who is venturing in the PNW and basically trying to figure out his life after suffering from brokenness and loss, while surviving in this unforgiving, brutal world full of death. It is a game in which it is both engaging story-wise as well as gameplay-wise. Also, in light of Days Gone Remastered going to be released on the PlayStation 5 on April 25th, Bend Studios decide to also make the Broken Roads DLC available on Steam on April 25th, just as a heads up. But anyways, if you love the Pacific Northwest and you love zombie open world games, definitely check out Days Gone on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Dying Light. Dying Light is a survival horror first-person open world game set in an environment that is dominated by zombies, known as the Infected. What's cool about Dying Light is that it features both a night and day cycle in which it will greatly affect your gameplay depending on whether or not you're roaming around in this open world game in the day or the nighttime. During the daytime, the Infected, they are much weaker and can easily be avoided or killed utilizing, traps available in the environment such as gas tanks or electric fences. However, during nighttime, the Infected becomes much stronger and dangerous, where they can deal much more damage, and in fact, they can even chase you down and even go parkour and scale various buildings. So the thing is that in the nighttime, it is much more dangerous in the game's world, in which you gotta be really careful. Now, other than the day and night cycle, what's cool about it is that you also get to traverse in this open world environment in parkour styles, such as climbing up ledges, such as sliding, such as leaping from rooftop to rooftop, as well as zip lining, and the possibilities are just so endless. There are plenty of loot and supplies that you can find while exploring, in which you can craft different weapons as well as sell them to other vendors. It is a game that is just really fun, really engaging, and where if you really love zombie games and you also love open world games, definitely check out Dying Light on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. In this game, you get to play as Wei Shen, who is an undercover cop who is on the mission to infiltrate the strongest triad in Hong Kong. What I love about Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition is that there are plenty of things to do. You can just drive around town, engage on various missions, whether it is the triad missions, whether it is the cop missions, whether it is just regular civilian side missions. There's just so many different variety of missions that you can do throughout the streets of Hong Kong. And what I also really love about Sleeping Dogs is that how, even though it has the vibes and aesthetics, in my opinion, kind of like GTA games, that's just my personal opinion, but what I really love about Sleeping Dogs is that it is more lenient towards melee combat instead of firearms combat, which to me is just really cool. Another thing that I also love about Sleeping Dogs is that it also has this Asian vibe. As somebody who is Asian, I kind of like that because it kind of just relates to me, even though I am not an undercover cop. But it's just cool to see games where when there are those dialogues where people speak in Chinese. It's just really cool to see that from time to time. But don't worry, even if you don't know how to understand Chinese, like if you don't know the language, you can still be able to play it, because as far as the game goes, the main story as well as the side quests and all that, most of it still has English in it. And whenever the characters speak in Chinese, there always will be English subtitles down there. So don't need to worry, even though some of the dialogue is in Chinese, but you will still be able to understand what's going on in the Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. But anyways, if you really love, cop games, you love open world action games where there's a lot of things to do and where you can just go around and treat the city as if it is your city, definitely check out Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition on the Steam Deck. Now up next is the Little Gator game. In this game, you get to play as, a little alligator, and where you get to assist him as he goes about and make new friends in these various islands. What I really love about the Little Gator game is you get to explore this beautiful cartoon-like world where there are various islands where you get to swim, you get to glide, you get to run, as well as you also get to complete those different side quests and make new friends and make new connections. As well as what I really love about the Little Gator game is that you can go about also doing what you want to do, such as slicing cardboard-like objects that resemble, real-life wildlife nature. As well as when you slice them, you will gain this type of currency where you get to upgrade your gear, as well as you get to also put on some cosmetic gear that makes you more interesting and whatnot. And by the way, there will be a DLC named In the Dark, which is gonna be released later on. There's no specific date yet about when it's gonna be released. It is still TBA, but just to give you a heads up, if you are somebody who is really interested in Little Gator game and you want a bit more of it, you don't have enough of the Little Gator game. But anyways, if you really love these type of jolly open world games where you get to embark on this place, where you get to explore this really colorful world where there are also cute characters to engage with and also very interesting side quests and whatnot, definitely check out the Little Gator game on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is an open world game set in the fictional Wild West 1899, in the sense that the aesthetics, they bring about this picture of what the Wild West of America is like, but at the same time, the lands, the names, and whatnot, they are fictional. As far as combat side of things, you can engage in melee combat, firearms combat, using bow and arrow, as well as using dual-wield weapons, and many more. As well as what I really love is that there are also a whole bunch of different side activities, such as dueling, bounty hunting, just to name a few. So yeah, if you really love games where there is an interesting story as well as where there are just a lot of things to do, definitely check out Red Dead Redemption 2 on the Steam deck. Now up next is Horizon Zero Dawn. In this game, you play as Aloy, who is a young hunter who is living in a world dominated by machines and is on a mission to unveil her past. What I love about Horizon Zero Dawn is that how there is a beautiful world to explore, as well as what I love about it is that you get to fight those different machines, whether it is shooting arrows or just going straight in bare bones with melee combat. As well as what I love about Horizon Zero Dawn is that there are a whole bunch of different side quests that I get to do where I get to help those around me as Aloy, as well as what I also love is engaging in those different trials, which is basically challenges in other types of games. And what I really love specifically about the trials is that there are a variety of different types of trials where I believe that Guerrilla Games, they did a very good job in it. There is just a whole bunch of creativity that goes behind the different trials. For instance, there is one specific trial that I remember where you must use the environment to your advantage in order to kill the different machines, to kill a certain amount of machines at a specific time limit, and I find that really interesting. So yeah, if you really love these type of action games where there is a beautiful story as well as a beautiful world to explore and where there are lots to do as well as just going about hunting and exploring and whatnot, definitely check out Horizon Zero Dawn on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Spider-Man 2018. Spider-Man 2018, you get to play as Peter Parker, who has to balance his personal life with things that matter the most to him, as well as defending New York City from a deadly virus. What I really love about Spider-Man 2018 is that you get to fight hordes of enemies in this open world action adventure in Manhattan, New York, as well as what I really love about Spider-Man 2018 is the iconic antagonists that they brought from the various movies as well as TV shows. That is something that I feel like is really cool, that I get to play as a character to fight off those different antagonists and beat them. It's just really fun. As well as what I really love about Spider-Man 2018, since this is a open world action game, is that I also love to roam around, engage in those various side quests as you go about and help those people in town. It just brings about the vibe of the city and whatnot, as well as also love the different main quests, the different side activities where you go about and doing those different challenges, such as doing the bomb challenge, combat challenge, to name a few, as well as going to those warehouses and fight those different waves of enemies. It's just a game in which it is just so fun and so vibrant and whatnot, as well as also love to just swing around in the city, just marveling at the amazing landscape of Manhattan. If you are somebody who loves open world games and you love action games where there is so many things to do in the game, as well as you also be able to experience an awesome story, definitely check out Spider-Man 2018 on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition. Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is an open world RPG game that is really iconic, really popular, really classical, and it is really timeless. In this game, you can choose between whether or not you want to play in a first person or a third person perspective, and you get to explore an environment that's inspired by Scandinavia, and where in Skyrim there is a diverse variety of races in which you can choose from, as well as there is a variety of various terrains, such as the wilderness, such as the towns, such as the various dungeons, the caves. The possibilities are just endless. It is just a beautiful world to explore and engage with, and as well as there are also a variety of various enemies. It is just something that is just really remarkable and really fun, as well as really engaging, in which you can spend so many hours there to dive deep and you will not feel bored. So yeah, if this all sounds great to you, definitely check out Elder Scrolls V Skyrim on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Ghost of Tsushima. This game is a beautiful open world action adventure game where you get to play as Jin Sakai, a samurai, where him and his uncle Lord Shimura starts out, fighting off those different Mongols on the beach. However, they are severely defeated, where Jin miraculously is saved and Lord Shimura is captured by the Kotu Khan, which is the leader of the Mongols, and held hostage. Now you as Jin, since you love your uncle uncle Lord Shimura, and where Lord Shimura is the only family member that is still alive, you decide to go on this mission to save your uncle. However, little did you know that as you go on this mission, it becomes much more than saving your uncle. As you go about this mission to save your uncle, along with those people around you who support and believe in you, you end up doing much more than saving your uncle, but also learn yourself more. Learn that it's really important to save people instead of being strict and religious in the samurai code of honor. It's just a very emotional story about friendship and doing all it takes to save those around you, to care for those around you, to value life to its fullest. Now, what I really love about Ghost of Tsushima is the side activities that you get to do. The side quest called Tales of Tsushima, even though it is optional, but I highly recommend playing all those Tales of Tsushima, experiencing them to the fullest, because you get to understand those different stories as you bond with those different people around you that mean a lot to you. As well as what I also love is how there is a deep lore in those mystic tales and whatnot. And also what I really enjoy is, on top of that, there are also a lot of things to do in the open world aspect of Ghost of Tsushima, whether it is engaging in those bamboo strikes, as well as going into those different hot springs and just reflecting on life. It just brings about those different immersion in this beautiful world of Tsushima Island. As well as what I really love about Iki Island, which is the DLC that is included in Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, is that it also further brings about Jin's healings from his past wounds. That is also something that's just really emotional. And by the way, I have an in-depth review on Ghost of Tsushima, sharing my deep thoughts, going all into the game about all you need to know about the game, whether or not the game is for you or not. So I have that. Feel free to check it out if you are interested in Ghost of Tsushima. We'll much appreciate that. But anyways, if you really love games where there is a lot of things to do in the game and where there's an emotional story that really teaches you a lot about life and speaks to you in many different ways, definitely check out Ghost of Tsushima on the Steam Deck. So number 10 is Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen has everything included in the original game Dragon's Dogma 1, as well as on top of that, it has a new area with harder enemies, as well as more superior gear. In this game, you get to engage on an epic adventure in a massive open world where you can choose from 9 different vocations, which is basically classes in other RPG games, where it brings about various feels of the game, in which when you choose different types of vocations, aka classes, it will bring about different strengths as well as different skills. And what's unique about Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is that there are also pawn companions in which they will join you, and they basically work as party members, which keeps you company. And where the pawns, they can be really resourceful. They can speak, they can seek assistance from the MC, as well as give you information about various enemies. On top of traversing, in the different landscapes, there's also a large cityscape with 200 plus NPCs to engage with. So yeah, if you really love these type of RPG games where there is a beautiful world to explore and where there's variety of sorts of things to do, definitely check out Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen on the Steam Deck. Now up next is GTA 5. GTA 5, what I really love about the open world aspect of Grand Theft Auto 5 is that you get to traverse either in vehicles or by foot, and you get to complete various missions which consists of shooting and driving, as well as you get to explore this fictional city called Los Santos, based on, present day Los Angeles. As well as what I really love also is that you also get to explore the countryside, which consists of towns, farms, mountains, and many more, and you get to do everything you can to your disposable. Now, just as a heads up, GTA 5, even though it says unsupported on the Steam Deck, it is rated as unsupported, but it still runs on the Steam Deck. The unsupported badge just means that GTA Online does not work. The campaign is totally playable, just as a heads up. But anyways, if you love these type of games where there is an open world aspect into it and where you can just go around stealing those different cars, driving them, treating it as if it is your city, definitely check out GTA 5 on the Steam Deck. Now up next is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. What I really love about it is that there is a vast open world where it is really lively. There's a variety of the busy city life where you can do a lot of different things, as well as there's also wild areas flooded with danger. There's a variety of these different stuffs in this vast open world. In this game, you get to play as a monster slayer known as The Witcher, and where you can travel on foot, by boat, by horse, just as a few examples. And there are tons of side things to do, such as horse racing, boxing, romancing females after completing certain quests, as well as you get to visit different blacksmiths where you get to craft better weapons. If you love these type of open world games where there's a lot of things to do and there's a vibrant world to explore, as well as there is a great story and whatnot, definitely check out The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on the Steam Deck. Now up next is A Short Hike. A Short Hike is a cozy / open world game where you get to play as Claire, a young bird who gets to visit her Aunt May, who is a ranger at Hawk Peak Providential Park. Now, the thing about Claire is that she is expecting a phone call, and unfortunately the park has no cellular service whatsoever except at the peak of the mountain. So you as Claire must go on this short hike, no pun intended, to go all the way up to the tippy top of the mountain in order to take care of the phone call. Now, the thing about this game, why I say it is an open world game, is that you can technically just focus on hiking all the way up to the top of the mountain and just, collect or buy those different feathers that will help you fly higher and be able to just go on the main path all the way to the top of the mountain, to just go on the journey to get to the top of the mountain and just take care of business. You could totally just do that and just finish the game. However, the major selling point with A Short Hike is more so about the process of the journey, but less about the destination. While on the journey, you can meet other cute NPCs, where you can take on those different quests, where you can help those different NPCs with whatever they need help with, as well as you can also, along the way, uncover different treasures by solving different riddles and just digging at the specific parts of the world in which you can find those different treasures, in which I find is really interesting and really cute as well. Those riddles, they kind of remind me of back in the day when me and my friends, when we were little, we were going on these different road trips and where we did not have access to electronics and we didn't know what to do in the car, so then we just solve these different riddles and laugh and have a great time. It just brings about that kind of vibe, those childhood memories. But anyways, if you really love these type of open world games where you can do anything at any time, and you don't want to play those type of games where there are a whole bunch of bloodshed and whatnot, definitely check out A Short Hike on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is a major pirate game where you get to go around and obtain lost treasures and where you can engage in intense battles as well as demolish monsters on the sea and many more as a pirate. It is a really fun, engaging multiplayer game in which you and your friends get to explore this open world and also look for different resources such as food to restore your health, like bananas and mangoes to name a few, as well as you can also go about in this open world environment at your disposal to find crucial weaponry in order to restock, firebombs as well as cannonballs. Yeah, it is a really beautiful world to explore and live the pirate life. So if all that sounds really interesting and engaging to you, as well as you love a game in which you can easily pick up and drop whenever, like somebody like me who likes to play a lot of single player games and want to play these type of games just to hang out with their friends and explore and marvel at the game, but at the same time do not want to commit to have to play it a certain amount of hours, can play as little and as much as you want, definitely check out Sea of Thieves on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Subnautica. Subnautica is a survival game taking place in the underwater world, which is so amazing and wonderful and beautiful and vibrant in life. It is a survival game with a vast open world to explore where you can go around and gather those different resources such as water, food, as well as necessary things to craft your gear in order to survive in the underwater world. There are a variety of terrains in this ocean wildlife world, whether it is exploring those different caves, exploring those different volcanoes, there's different forests, as well as there are just many more of these variety of different terrains to explore, gather resources, those necessities in order to survive. So yeah, if you are looking for an open world game where it takes place in the ocean, in the underwater world and whatnot, definitely check out Subnautica on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Watch Dogs 2. In this game, you get to play as Marcus, a young hacker who takes down shady and corrupt organizations throughout parts of a fictionalized Bay Area in California. This game specifically features iconic locations like San Francisco, Oakland, Marin County, and the Silicon Valley. You can travel by foot, travel by car, travel by buses, travel by trucks, motorbikes, you name it, as well as you get to engage in firearm fights also while driving. What I really love about Watch Dogs 2 is that there are various ways to approach those different missions, whether you want to approach it aggressively or in stealth mode. They both bring a really thrilling experience. As far as the aggressive approach goes, you get to engage in combat itself using a variety of melee and firearm weapons created from a 3D printer. As far as the stealth approach goes, you also get to use a variety of things such as paralyzing enemies with your taser or secretly using drones. Now, as far as the game goes, since it is an open world game, aside from the main missions and side missions, there are also a variety of things to do in this vast fictionalized Bay Area where you can street race, you can engage in street art activities, drone racing, and many more. So yeah, if you are looking for an open world game that's really engaging, really fun, as well as you really love the vibes of the Bay Area like me who grew up in the Bay Area, it kind of hits home to me a lot, then definitely check out Watch Dogs 2 on the Steam Deck. And just as a side note, Watch Dogs 2, like GTA 5, it is listed as unsupported because the multiplayer side of things also doesn't work. So just as a side note, but as far as the game goes, it all runs properly. So yeah, if all this sounds interesting to you, definitely check out Watch Dogs 2 on the Steam Deck. Now up next is Spider-Man Miles Morales. In this game, you get to play as, you know it, Miles Morales, in which when you play as Miles, you gotta help him balance his personal life while also protecting New York City, the residents, from a deadly virus. Now, the thing about, Spider-Man Miles Morales is that in this game, we see in the beginning where Peter, which is the other Spider-Man, he's gonna be gone on a trip for a few weeks, so Miles basically has to cover for him. He has to be the person who guards the fort and basically protects the residents. Peter is gone to take care of other business and Miles has to take over. Now, the thing about Miles Morales, I know a lot of people, they don't like Miles Morales that much due to it being a much shorter game, but the thing is that, to be honest, for me, I resonate with Miles Morales much more than, Spider-Man 2018. Now, Spider-Man 2, I would have put it on this list this far down, but at the same time, Spider-Man 2, in my opinion, it doesn't really touch me as greatly as, Spider-Man Miles Morales, so I wouldn't put Spider-Man 2 all the way down, also let alone that Spider-Man 2 doesn't really run as well on the Steam Deck, so that's also another factor. But anyway, Spider-Man Miles Morales, what I actually really love about Spider-Man Miles Morales is that I really love how you get to explore New York City, where you stop those different crimes, as well as I really love those different attacks, the attack moves like the Venom attack, which is just really cool and really fun, and where you just blast at those different enemies and whatnot. I love that inclusion of it, as well as I really love, as far as the game goes about the side activities, is having the ability to clear out those different Roxxon labs and hideouts, which is basically story related. I won't give you any spoilers, don't worry, and where you get to fight those different waves of enemies when participating participating in those different activities. As well as what I really love about Miles Morales is that compared to Spider-Man 2018, I feel like they really improved on the various challenges. Now, Spider-Man Miles Morales, even though there are, stealth challenges, combat challenges, traversal challenges, what's cool about these challenges is that these challenges work as a way for Peter being a mentor and teaching Miles the ropes on how to literally survive and protect the people in New York City. And the thing about those different challenges, what's really cool about it is that they have a lot of spice to it. For example, you could have one combat challenge in which you have to kill the enemies by launching them in the air, and while another challenge could also be a combat challenge where you basically have to kill the different enemies without taking damage. That's what I kind of remember, is that even though there are various challenges that may be labeled as the same kind of category, like combat, stealth, or traversal, but there are also those objectives in those different challenges that brings about the spice to the different challenges. It is not straightforward like Spider-Man 2018, where, a stealth challenge is just where you take out those different enemies stealthily, and where a combat challenge, you're just basically racing in the time to kill those different enemies at a specific time. No, Spider-Man Miles Morales, the thing about those challenges is that there is extra spice to it. There are specific things you have to do even in those specific category of challenges. So that is something in which I really love about Spider-Man Miles Morales much more than Spider-Man 2018. As well as I really love about Spider-Man Miles Morales the story of it. I love how, Miles is just growing up and basically just learning about what it means to cherish his family life, to care about the things that matter to him the most. And there's also these struggles in Miles' complicated life in which I just feel really touched as well. So yeah, if you are somebody who doesn't mind shorter games and you love these type of open world games where there are tons of things to do, but at the same time you also love it to be a short and sweet story that is touching as well, definitely check out Spider-Man Miles Morales on the Steam Deck. Now up next, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. This game is set between the events of Peter Jackson's The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogy. In Shadow of Mordor, you play as Talion, a ranger and captain of Gondor who, along with his family, is captured by the Sauron Urix and sacrificed by the Black Hand to summon the wraith of the Elk Lord Celebrimbor. However, Celebrimbor suffers amnesia due to being a wraith and merges with Talion, in which it resurrects Talion and tags along with Talion to go on the mission to seek vengeance against Sauron. What I love about Shadow of Mordor is how you get to fight those different enemies, as well as there is a beautiful place to just explore that is heavily engaging if you're somebody who loves Lord of the Rings and loves The Hobbit, as well as there are also different side quests that really enhance the story, as well as a beautiful soundtrack that wraps everything that I mentioned together. But what I really am glad about Shadow of Mordor, what I really think really stands out compared to other beautiful open world games, is the Nemesis system. In Shadow of Mordor, you get to track down different Urix, and where you get to defeat those different captains, and where if you defeat those different captains, it will cause the captain's goons to be weakened. However, if you get killed by the captains, then it will cause the Urix to level up. So it is something in which you gotta prep, you gotta strategize before you take on a captain, because if you keep dying, it may come to a point where the game will be very much unplayable because the enemies get so high level and you are completely under leveled and you cannot play the game anymore, and unfortunately you have to start over. So that is something that you do not want to do. But anyways, if you are somebody who loves open world games that you get to explore and where you get to marvel at the beauty of it, while you also get to fight those different enemies, and where there are plenty of skills and weapons in which you can choose from, there are also these different movesets that you get to learn and whatnot along the way, definitely check out Shadow of Mordor on the Steam deck. Alright guys, my favorite open world game to play, and that is none other than Shadow of War. Shadow of War is a direct sequel to Shadow of Mordor, and in this game, we see Talion and Celebrimbor head to Mount Doom to create another ring of power that is fresh and clean with no corruption from Sauron whatsoever. However, things turn nasty once the ring was created. Celebrimbor gets captured by Shelob, and Shelob threatens Talion to give her the ring or else she would keep Celebrimbor hostage. Due to her claiming that she and Talion mutually hating an enemy in Sauron, Talion reluctantly hands over the ring, and here's what Shelob has to say as she sees into the future before heading out. I love Shadow of War so much more than Shadow of Mordor. It is just the bigger brother to Shadow of Mordor, with a much bigger world to explore, a much bigger world to roam, as well as different enemies to fight, as well as there are also more side quests, and as well as there's also a bigger and better variety of weapons. That's what I really love about Shadow of War. But what I am impressed mostly about Monolith Productions is buffing the Nemesis system in Shadow of War. What I love about the Nemesis system in Shadow of War is that enemies are able to be dominated. When dominating an enemy, the enemy can be sent to eavesdrop different war chiefs and bring back intel to Talion. As well as what's cool about being dominated is that those enemies, they can continue to be your friend or later on betray you and become a foe depending on how you treat them. Like for example, if during a battle you decide to protect them in the battle, they will continue to be your friend. But if you abandon them, then they will become your foe. So this is a game in which it is just so much more polished than Shadow of Mordor. It really feels as if Shadow of War, the gameplay side of things, is what Shadow of Mordor was meant to be. So yeah, that is something that is just so remarkable. If you are somebody who loves Lord of the Rings and Hobbit, you will love Shadow of War. If you are somebody who just loves open world games and the action side of things, you will love Shadow of War. It is just a game that I believe is just meant for everybody. Definitely check out Shadow of War on the Steam Deck. But yeah, friends, these are 20 open world games in which I would recommend any Steam Deck owner to check out. Let me know in the comment section below, are there any open world games in which you would recommend me to check out in which I have not mentioned on the list? But yeah, if you love gaming lists, gaming reviews, gaming discussions, and everything related to Steam Deck, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe so you not miss another video. I try to post Mondays and Fridays around 6 p.m. Pacific time, so stay tuned. Once again, my name is Joey from Nomadic Gaming Guild, and game on!